The entire Atlantic's really covered with tropical cyclones today. Take a look at our overview graphic. We have Tropical Storm Gabrielle, we have Tropical Storm Humberto, and then we also have this area of interest in the Gulf of Mexico. All that we're watching today and all that we're going to cover here. Starting first, though, with Gabrielle because of the immediate impacts that it's having in Bermuda. This is the latest information that we have as of the past hour. 40-mile-per-hour maximum sustained winds moving north at 12 miles per hour, just about 120 miles to the south here of Bermuda. I want to show you the visible satellite picture, though, because Gabrielle is pretty disorganized. It's seeing some strong upper level winds at the upper levels of the atmosphere that are blowing off all the weather to the north and east. And this is good news for Bermuda because as the storm moves toward the north, a lot of the strongest weather is going to be to the east. But nevertheless, it's going to bring a lot of gusty winds and some heavy rainfall to Bermuda over the next few days. And unfortunately, it's going to be a slow moving storm. So we're expecting this weather to continue really through Thursday. By the end of the week, though, there is a cold front that is digging down through the southeast U.S. and that's going to whisk it away out to sea and into the Canadian Maritimes. And we can finally say goodbye to Gabrielle. Gabrielle, remember, was that storm that affected Puerto Rico last weekend and then reformed overnight. Now, lastly, I want to get you to the Gulf of Mexico where we're watching this area of interest. And this is really going to be the weather story as we get into the weekend.
And the first three visions, which occupy chapters 12 and 13, are all of the enemy, if you will.
Yeah.
And then the next visions are of the good guys. So let's think about the
bad guys.
The bad guys to begin with. Well, the woman is actually a good gal.
Yeah.
And we have two important feminine images in the book. Actually, three. We have the woman clothed with the sun,
Right.
who in some ways is the mother of the Messiah.
Yeah.
And we'll have to think a little
Yeah.
bit more about that.
Yeah.
And then we have the whore of Babylon in chapter 17, and we'll have to think about that. And
Yeah.
then the bride of the Lamb
At the end. Yeah.
So there are these three very potent images
Yeah.
that call on lots of symbolic traditions
Yeah.
out of the Old Testament and out of contemporary mythology and art, for that
Yeah.
matter. I think the woman clothed with the sun here, with the moon under her feet and on her head a crown of 12 stars, is an image that has been used in the Christian tradition for Mary,
Very much so.
the mother of
Yeah.
Jesus. And it appears all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think we have some pictures
We
in
do.
the written material here that
Yeah.
illustrates that.
Yeah.
But in any case, the imagery I think is a little more complicated than just a depiction of the glorified Mary. This image of a cosmic presence comes out of Greco-Roman religion. And I think it's referring to deities like Artemis, the goddess of Ephesus, or other Greco-Roman deities of one sort or another that had some sort of cosmic dimension. But this is being used of the mother of the Messiah in I believe, a corporate sense rather than an individual sense. It's the people of Israel that's, I think, being depicted here. And I gather that from the way in which the mother and her child are persecuted by the great serpent in chapter 13, verse 13. So what's depicted here at the beginning of chapter 12 is an ancient mythic paradigm or archetype of a woman, a pregnant woman and her child, a woman who has divine dimensions to her, being threatened by some sort of inimical power.
The newest one we're tracking at 5 o'clock, officially Tropical Storm Gabrielle. We'll start with Fernand. The information winds 50 miles per hour. These are my favorite kind of storms as far as they go away and they don't strengthen much. This one will quickly move into the mountainous terrain of Mexico early tomorrow morning. And then Gabrielle out about 1,300 miles away from the Azores Islands, moving northwest at 10. This one is forecast to move safely across the open Atlantic through the early parts of next week, so no worries for the U.S. and in particular for us here in Southwest Florida. So we are now through the 7th named storm.